Thank you for listening my answers to the questions given. My name is Ria Sandora. My friends call me Ria sometimes. I'm a student of Universitas Tanjungpura, majoring in Management, International Class Batch 2019. Today, I am here to answer the questions given by my lecturer, Mr. Adi Mursalin. Firstly, I will answer the questions on Part A, which deal with the activities in Zoom meeting. There are 4 questions there. Next, I will answer the questions on Part B, which deal with the theories of organizational behavior. There are 13 questions. Well, my dear friends, let me begin my answers starting from Part A. Yes, I am active in attending the lecture of organizational behavior. I always attend every organizational behavior class every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. until finish and never late. I also engage in the discussion handled by my friends. The evidence is that I always ask or answer questions from the group that makes presentations every week. An example is the presentation from Group 4, which discussed about Chapter 9 on Foundations of Group Behavior. I answered the questions given by them. I also answered several questions from Sir Adi regarding the material presented every week. There are 11 chapters that have been presented before the final term test, but only 5 chapters were presented live, and the rest, 6 other chapters, were recorded and uploaded to YouTube due to time constraints. And then the first group to start the presentation after midterm test was Jennifer Angela Pangestu and Nico Amanda Putri from Group 6. With Chapter 8 on motivation from concepts to applications. Jennifer and Komang, as the presenters of this material, delivered the explanation very well. Their explanations were easy to understand and were accompanied by examples so that it feels easier. Then the next presenter was Group 4, which consisted of Agi Mayara Sevilla, Cikarania, and Sylvia Dwi Arindi, with the topic of Chapter 9, Foundations of Group Behavior. This group was also doing very well. What I like is that the PowerPoint display is very attractive and has a lot of pictures so that it makes the presentation not boring. Then their explanation. It was also quite detailed. And then the next is the explanation of Group 13, where Catherine, Giovanni, and Octavia are the presenters. They presented Chapter 10 about understanding work teams. The presentation of Group 13 about this material was also interesting and complete. They also explained the difference between work teams and teamwork so that my friends and I became very familiar with this material. Then the next chapter, Chapter 11, about communication, was presented by Andrian Yuando and Muhammad Arazi Bagaswara from Group 12. Just like the other presenters, Andrian and Bagas also presented the material very well. They were on cam, understand presentation material, and delivered material with clear voice and articulation. Next is Chapter 12 about leadership, which is presented by Group 3, consisting of Delviana Sukmamawarni, Sabrina Velia, and Julia Goyofi. The presentation of Group 3 was very interesting, where they could present this material completely. We know that leadership is a material that is really difficult to understand because it is very practical, but Group 3 can package this material on leadership briefly and more easily to understand. Next is the presentation via Zoom meeting recording by Group 10. This is the presentation of my group and my 2 other friends, Willa and Steffi. The material discussed in our presentation is Chapter 15 about foundations of organization structure. The recording of our video was shown in the last organizational behavior class. And then another group that did a record Zoom meeting also was group 2 that consisted of Fanny Deswita, Adelia, and Sharon. They did a good presentation. All presenters were on cam and their explanations were also smooth. The words used in their presentation were easy to understand, and overall it's an interesting presentation. After that, there is group 1 with the topic of chapter 16, organizational culture. Their presentation was quite good and all on cam. The explanation of the material was also quite good. It's just that there was an on-cam camera that was not full face, but overall the explanation was good enough. The next group that has sent the video link to the group is group 18, consisting of Cristobal and Wahyu, that present chapter 17, human resource policies and practices. The presenters were quite good in delivering the material. They were also on cam. It's just that maybe because of internet network problems, so that there are some parts of the video where the sound sometimes disappears, but overall their explanation was good and understandable. Then the other material, the group still hasn't sent the recording of the Zoom meeting until this video is made, so I cannot tell how I found the presenter. There are still one chapter that hasn't been presented, which is chapter 13, Power and Politics by group 11, consists of Kevin, Aji, and Arya. From my friend's presentation of chapter 8 to chapter 18, I learned more and deeper about organizational behavior, especially how to manage organizations and learn about various behaviors that exist in organizations and also how to deal with them. If before the midterm test, the learning was more related to the basics of organizational behavior, the material presented after the midterm test discussed more deeply. From chapter 8, I learned more about motivation and how to apply the concept of motivation in our real life. And then from chapter 9, I learned that each group consists of various behaviors, so a foundation is needed to accommodate these differences. And next, from chapter 10, I understand the difference between work teams and teamwork. Then chapter 11 taught me about how important it is for communication to be in an organization, because it is communication that will regulate the course of organization activities. Then from the presentation of chapter 12, my understanding about leadership has increased. I also learned how leaders differ from managers. And then next, from chapter 14, I learned how conflict can emerge in an organization and how to negotiate with the right ways. And then chapter 16 is about organizational culture. Through my friend's presentation, I learned a lot, especially about the characteristics of culture, or something that can be called as organizational culture. I also came to know that culture is that important and needed in an organization because it has its own function. After that, chapter 17 about human resource policies and practices taught me something else about HRM. In the previous semester, I had learned about HRM, but through this material, I learned more about how to apply human resource management in an organization, starting from the selection process, and then training and development programs, and then performance evaluation, until managing work-life conflicts. And then from my the material that I presented, Foundations of Organization Structure, chapter 15, I learned the importance of structure in an organization because it is the basis for the establishment of an organization. For other one group, they haven't sent the video of presentation until this video is made. The book used in the OB course is entitled Organizational Behaviour 15th Edition. The authors of this book are Robin Stephen P. and Judge Timothy A. This book was provided by Mr. Adi Mursalin since the first class of organizational behavior started as a guide in learning OB material. This book also consists of complete organizational behavior material, starting from the introduction to more in-depth material. And if we see the overall of the book, the material and explanation in this book are very complete. Each explanation is also equipped with examples to make it easier for us as readers to understand. In short, this book is very educative, complete, easy to understand, and to the point. Okay, so that's the answers for part A, and now we will jump to the questions on part B. Let's check it out. Leadership as the accomplishment of a goal through the direction of human assistance, and a successful leader as one who can understand people's motivations and enlist employee participation in a way that marries individual needs and interests to the group's purpose. Therefore, leadership can be defined as the ability to influence a group toward the achievement of a vision or a set of goals. The source of this influence may be formal, such as that provided by managerial rank in an organization. Organizations need strong leadership and strong management for optimal effectiveness. We need leaders today to challenge the status quo, create visions of the future, and inspire the organizational members to want to achieve the visions. So basically, there are three key theoretical frameworks in understanding organizational behavior, which are behavioristic framework, cognitive framework, and social learning framework. For behavioristic framework, the learning is focusing on the observable events, both environmental and behavioral. This framework developed by Ivan Pavlov and J.B. Watson. Through behavioristic framework, organizational behavior can be explained with the help of stimulus and responses. The second is cognitive framework. Cognition itself means the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding thought, experience, and the senses. This framework was introduced by Edward Tolman. The learning of this framework consists of the expectancy that particular events will lead to particular consequence. The last but not least is social learning framework. Social learning framework explains human behavior in terms of continuous reciprocal interaction among cognitive, behavioral, and environmental influences. And then how does the social cognitive approach differ from the cognitive approach? The difference between social cognitive theory and social learning theory is that for social cognitive theory can be viewed as an expanded version of the social learning theory. So social learning theory highlights that people acquire new behavior or learn through observation of others. Meanwhile, spatial cognitive theory highlights that the acquisition, maintenance, and change of behavior is a result of the interplay of personal, behavioral, and environmental influences. And then how does the social cognitive approach differ from the behavioristic approach? It can be seen from the core concept, where for social cognitive theory, it is observational learning, triadic reciprocal determination, and self-efficiency. While for behavioristic approach, it is classical conditioning, stimulus-response behavior. I think the major challenges facing today's and tomorrow's organizations and management consist of three main things, which are globalization, diversity, and ethics. In addition, there are also few employees as assets rather than costs. Make employees feel valued, and then recognize and appreciate the importance of human resources, and then paradigm shift where not only recognize and appreciate the importance of human resources but also use recent history as a catalyst for change in the understanding and management of human resources. For question number 4, I was asked to open the link of some companies. I have opened them and it shows the job career of each company. And now I will answer some questions for this number 4. If possible, I think I would not choose a job that keep me at home for a significant part of the work week because I am the type of person that thrive on social interactions, feel inspired by seeing others working, and stay on track best if working with others. So I feel like I can be more productive if working from the office and be more motivated in working. If I am working from home, I feel less motivated and tend to postpone my works. Therefore, for me, I prefer jobs that keep me working from the office rather than at home so that I can do well in my work and be more productive. Some important things to consider are what environment you stay focused in the longest, how long it takes you to get back on track, and how you best communicate. If you are the type that self-motivated, adhere to routine well, and enjoy minimal distractions, then working from home is the right choice for you. But if you are just like me, who thrives on social interactions, inspired by seeing others working, and do best if others see you, then working from the office is the way to go. So actually it depends. It depends on where you think you will be most productive. But for me, I choose working from office. Actually, there are so many advantages and disadvantages from working at home, but here I will mention 3 of it. I will start from the advantage. First, wider pool of applicants. Having a team that works from home means that you no longer have to worry about office location when hiring. Just about anyone from around the country or even the world can apply for your position without having to stress about getting to work every day. And then second, flexibility and agility. Home working enables more agility and flexibility in working arrangements, with employees no longer tied to an office. They may be better placed and more willing to work flexible hours, such as earlier or later in the day or even at weekends. Third, improved staff health and well-being. Working from home eliminates the need for a commute to work that can be stressful to your employees, and then time savings, such as this also enables staff to get extra health benefits such as additional sleep, spending more time with family, exercising, or preparing healthier meals. And the next is the disadvantages working from home. And then the first one is more distractions. Although it has been found that working from home can boost productivity, there is no denying that there are some new distractions to be aware of. Factors such as noisy neighbors and then family or friends will mean that your productivity and concentration levels may drop. Second, burnout. Flexible working hours are one of the benefits of remote work. It lets employees structure their days according to their convenience, but this can turn into a disadvantage for some employees. Some may forget to clock out and differentiate between work life and home life. This might lead to working longer than one should, thus resulting in employee burnout and added stress. Whereas working in an office helps to draw the line between professional and private life. Third, lack of motivation. Motivation drives people to power on and achieve their goals. It can be effortless to lose motivation quickly when one is put in the wrong place and wrong time. It further risks achieving the desired business outcomes. Working at an office with fellow employees with a common goal and purposes, or having a pep talk with a senior at work can be great sources of external motivation, whereas working from home lacks that kind of environment. This can make an employee's life difficult and can adversely affect their productivity. Though self-motivation works to a certain extent, it is not always enough to keep a man going. That's where the use of external motivation comes into play. Okay, so the first one, difficult to monitor performance. It is not easy for managers to monitor their staff's progress and performance without them being in the same office space. This is especially escalated if the job role requires a lot of background duties that cannot be monitored on a work system. Frequent catch-up calls to solve this issue can be very time-consuming, reducing productivity levels. The only way is to request updates on staff work to see the progress. And then about motivation. It's easy to lose motivation when working from home, whether you are a remote employee or self-employed. The lack of external inputs and interactions with coworkers can make you lose sight of your long-term career goals, ultimately losing motivation. And then third, managing workplace problems. When an organization applies work from home, it's the challenge for them to manage the problems that might and will occur. However, it is not as easy as working in the office. If you work in the office, me as manager can meet and talk to the person directly, right? But if we work at home, it means I need to talk to them through media like the internet. Of course, it will be less effective compared to if I meet them directly, because of course everyone will feel more comfortable if talking directly rather than through application. Yes, I think so. Seeing the development of science and technology that is increasingly advanced from time to time, more and more new, unique, and interesting innovations in the field of telecommuting have emerged. For example, in the past, our smartphones were quite large and rigid, but now Samsung has released smartphones whose screen can be folded so that they will be smaller and easier to bring. The fans of this kind of phone are also quite a lot. This indicates that the trend toward telecommuting is increasing and will always increase in the future. This will certainly have an impact on an organization, considering that it is currently impossible for an organization to exist and survive without the telecommuting sector. Therefore, the increasing development of telecommuting will make it easier for the organization's activities. However, it can also have a negative impact, such as the use of telecommuting for things outside of work that may harm the organization. But basically, the impact, good or bad, it is depending on the user. If it is used for the right things, then it will have a good impact, and vice versa. For question number 5, there is a case about Jane Arnold who wants to be a manager. She enjoyed her accounting, finance, and marketing courses, but she doesn't really understand about managing people. So here I will answer some questions for number 5. The way to relieve Jane's anxiety is to explain the basic functions of managers first. Jane needs to know that a manager must not only take care of the company's activities, but also must be able to manage its employees so that they can help carry out company activities properly. Jane needs to know that being a manager is not only about theory, but the practice of how to treat others is also very important. If numbers and data can be processed into an answer, human nature cannot be calculated or estimated because it is so diverse. With this explanation, it may be possible to reduce Jane's anxiety and be able to start studying about organizational behavior. Regarding the course in organizational behavior that's going to make her a better manager, actually all materials and courses in organizational behavior can really help Jan to become a good manager. This is because all materials in organizational behavior study the course and the nature and habits of employees and the proper ways to deal with them. For example, how to motivate employees, and then what is work teams, communication, leadership, conflict and negotiation, and so on. So, since organizational behavior is the study of how people are motivated and act in dynamic environments, this understanding is critical for successful management and leadership. In short, all these materials teach Jen to become a manager who is not only limited to theory and calculations, but also pays attention to human resource factors in the organization. And then about the evidence-based approach, it recognizes the interchange between theory and practice. Theory is generalized practice, which does require some customization for the many minor differences that exist between a specific situation and the generalization. It is therefore critical that these differences are identified based on objective observation and evaluation of subjective actions, which take we back to understanding organization dynamics, and therefore the implication of evidence-based approach are reducing the potential for irrational thinking, bias, or exhaustion to negatively impact management decisions. I think it is because the professor wants to explain about organizational behavior from the most basic things first to give Jan an overview of managing people, which is not the same as other subjects such as accounting, finance, or marketing courses. It is those emerging challenges that will be studied, understanding and how to overcome them in organizational behavior. So before studying further, we must first know about the concepts in organizational behavior. Organizational behavior is obviously different from courses in fields such as accounting, finance, or marketing. One important thing is that organizational behavior stands for qualitative aspects of people and company. It focuses on the behavior of people and organization. course in organizational behavior is full of uncertainty, but accounting, finance, or marketing focuses more on processing data and numbers. This data and figures are absolute, so their results are certain and will not change. For example, like accounting mainly stands for recording, classifying of cash transactions, or in terms of cash and summarizing in significant manner. But in managing people, like the material in organizational behavior, everything is uncertain, where one person's character is different from another. So, in the modern global organization, diversity is essential to generating innovative ideas, understanding local markets, and acquiring talent. There are many arguments for diversity in an organization, including the availability of talent, the enhancing of interpersonal innovation, risk avoidance, and appealing to a global customer base. The organization case for diversity is driven by the view that diversity brings substantial potential benefits such as: first, better decision making; second, improved problem solving; third, reduce discriminations and racism; fourth, more creatives and ideas; fifth, unity of diverse strengths; and sixth, greater creativity and innovation, which lead to enhanced product development and more successful marketing to different types of customers. That's why diversity has become such an important dimension of today's organization. Basically, every company has its own unique personality, just like people do. The unique personality of an organization is referred to as its culture. In groups of people who work together, organizational culture is an invisible but powerful force that influences the behavior of the members of that group. Therefore, we can define organizational culture as a system of shared assumptions, values, and beliefs which governs how people behave in organization. These shared values have a strong influence on the people in the organization and dictate how they dress, act, and perform their jobs. There are 7 characteristics of organizational culture, such as the first, innovation or risk orientation. For example, companies encourage their employees to take risks and innovate in the performance of their jobs. Companies that with cultures that place a low value on innovation expect their employees to do their jobs the same way that they have been trained to do them, without looking for ways to improve their performance. And then second, attention to detail or precision orientation. For example, a culture that places a high value on attention to detail expects its employees to perform their work with precision. A culture that places a low value on this characteristic doesn't. Third, emphasis on outcome or achievement orientation. A company that instructs its sales force to do whatever it takes to get sales orders has a culture that places a high value on the emphasis on outcome characteristics. And then fourth, emphasis on people or fairness orientation. For example, a company treats their employees with respect and dignity. And then the fifth, teamwork or collaboration orientation. For example, companies organize work activities around teams instead of individuals and tend to have a positive relationship with their coworkers and managers. 6. Aggressiveness or competitive orientation. For example, be assertive or easygoing when dealing with companies that compete within the marketplace. And then the last one, number 7, stability or role orientation. The example of this characteristic is when the company is rule-oriented, predictable, and bureaucratic in nature. Basically, personality can be defined as the overall way in which a person reacts and interacts with the environment or other individuals. One of the personality trait theories that is most often used in the world of work is the Big Five model or Big Five personality traits model proposed by a well-known psychologist, Lewis Goldberg. The Big Five personality traits model consists of 5 key dimensions. First, openness to experiences. Second, conscientiousness. Third, extraversion. Fourth, agreeableness. And the last one, neuroticism. So the first one, openness to experiences. This personality dimension groups individuals based on their interests in new things and desire to know and learn something new. Positive characteristics in individuals who have this dimension tend to be more creative, imaginative, intellectual, curious, and broad-minded. And then the second, conscientiousness. Individuals who have this personality dimension tend to be more careful in making an action or considerate in making a decision. They also have high self-discipline and can be trusted. Positive characteristics on the dimension are reliable, responsible, diligent, and achievement-oriented. And then the third, extraversion. This extraversion personality dimension relates to a person's level of comfort in interacting with other people. Positive characteristics of extraversion individuals are sociable, easy to socialize, live in groups, and assertive. And then the fourth, agreeableness. Individuals with the agreeableness dimension tend to be more obedient to other individuals and have a personality that wants to avoid conflict. Its positive characteristics are cooperative, so they can work together, and then full of trust, good nature, warm and soft-hearted, and likes to help. And then the last, neuroticism. It is a personality dimension that assesses a person's ability to withstand pressure or stress. Personality characteristics of neuroticism is called emotional stability. Emotionally stable individuals tend to be calm when facing problems, confident, have a firm stand. Which one seems to have the biggest impact on performance is the question. Based on the psychological research, the trait that has the biggest impact on performance is conscientiousness. Those who score higher in this trait are likely to have higher levels of job-related knowledge, as those who are highly conscientious learn more. They are likely to have the aspects of a strong leader. However, they are also more likely to put work first over anything else and are not as likely to adapt to changing situations. So, negative affectivity or NA is a broad personality trait that refers to the stable tendency to experience negative emotions. Negative affectivity is negative emotions and expression like sadness and then disgust, lethargy, fear, and distress. Employees who are high in NA are more likely to report negative affectivity mood states across the time and regardless of the situation. They also report more somatic symptoms and have like an attention bias toward adverse stimuli or potentially threatening situations. Meanwhile, positive affectivity refers to positive emotions and expression, including like cheerfulness, pride, enthusiasm, energy, and joy. Employees with high positive affectivity are typically enthusiastic, energetic, confident, active, and alert. Research has linked a positive affectivity with an increase in longevity, better sleep, and a decrease in stress hormones. So I did the test and I got 24 as my score. Based on this score, my leadership style is democratic or participative style of leadership. According to this leadership style, I tend to set the parameters for the work and have the final say on decisions. But I actively involve my team members in the process. This style can build trust between me and my people as they will likely feel engaged and valued. But it is not great as a high pressure situation that requires a high turnaround as it will slow me down. And if I dislike disagreement or conflict, I might struggle with how people respond to consultation. And yes, I think this style really suits me and my personality because I believe that people can have a valuable insight into a problem or process, so I actively consult them. As a result, I will likely gain creative input and fresh ideas that I wouldn't have come up with if I was working alone. I am the type of person that value others' opinion. However, that processes could become dangerously slow if I involve my team members in every decision. So, I also need to judge carefully. For question number 11, I read the story of some amazing people like Apple Company, Wayne Huizenga, and Steve Wynn about the successful life of them through their personality and characteristics. Then I will answer some questions regarding this case. Apple is a renowned company for high-tech products which are needed to be updated and called the top cutting-edge products. Thus, one of their priorities for good services is flexible time at work and willingness of working for long hours. Employees may be required to work more during peak hours or holidays. Additionally, they do offer time away options for employees like working at home as an at-home advisor. By doing so, administration costs may reduce and workers can find many conveniences to complete their tasks. The proclaimed 90 hours a week and loving it of Apple show the requirements of working flexibility. Those who work in Apple company have to agree all the company's requirements, and the following reasons could be the answer to why the members dedicate a long time at work and hardworking with Apple. The first one, strict recruitment policies along with human resources quality. Second, job responsibilities and project deadlines. Third, job insecurity. Fourth, offering benefits and incentives for employees. And the fifth, changes to build up people's career ladder. As we know, business nowadays, the business competition is getting stronger and fiercer, resulting in the need for hiring high qualified workers. And moreover, it is difficult to get a job in a well-known company such as Apple, but easy to be fired once the company cannot see workers' dedications and distributions for the company. In the case of Wayne Huizenga, he started his own business with a positive mind and strong beliefs in his abilities. From the small garbage company to could build his career, it reflects how he trusted in himself and how Huizenga took action into reality. It can be seen that he had a good vision toward business and could catch the opportunities. It is figured out that the level of self-esteem is connected to happiness level. Huizenga enjoyed in doing his business and immersed into it. He was satisfied and happy with what he worked for. When a person sees their value at work, they will have more energy to immerse in it. And as a result, he shaped his actions in his ways to become a successful businessman. Besides, having high motivation and the ability to predict what could happen seems to be a good skill for him. Accepting himself to go out of his comfort zone, being different from other people, gave him the chances to open his new horizons. For instance, he involved in the garbage industry. The area may not be an attractive or potential field neither. However, Huizenga kept taking up challenges which brought him success and valued experiences. Briefly, for the reason that Huizenga trusted in his abilities and took this thought into action, as well as had a positive mind, those lead him to positive outcomes. It is recorded that his first stock was to raise a $5 million in 1971 and valued $3 billion just after 13 years. Besides, people who have high self-esteem often go with positive results regardless negative impacts and external factors, and tend to have less stress level as well as have a greater level of satisfaction in life. It is reflected in the story of Huizenga when he decided to jump in the entertainment field. When Huizenga could get $1 billion by his managerial skills and the support from his partners as well. By the same token, he moved in another part, which is the car second-hand market. The story is repeated. He won in this market and impressively affirmed the status in the business market. In conclusion, Wayne Huizenga has great self-esteem and he could succeed by taking advantages from it. Being positive, able to take risks as well as taking actions gave him chances to gain achievements. It will be great when someone knows who he or she is and improve themselves for the better. It is because of the CEO of Mirage itself, which is Steve Wynn, really value job satisfaction and organizational commitment. In economic communication these days, job satisfaction becomes an important key factor for organizations to develop and motivate people as well. People tend to speak out what they think about their works to have a common voice and boost the company. To develop job satisfaction could lead to job involvement and reverse. Having a great appreciation and respect their team or boss provide employees with energy and motivation to commit themselves with the company. It results in a positive performance and good outcomes since they are affected or encouraged by external factors. Steve Wynn managed to keep his employees so happy by creating job satisfaction. As we know, job satisfaction is employees' assessment about the company working environments, conditions, places, and the achievements they have got from the jobs. Coming to the case of Steve Wynn, he manages to keep employee satisfaction by giving them good working mood and incentives when they achieve excellent goals. It is a fact that the happier the employees are, the more successful the companies are. Additionally, any company has higher working satisfaction rate likely to be more creative and effective. Steve set happiness at work as one of the key elements to having good performance. Making everyone feel happy is also the responsibility of every staff. Furthermore, his employees are affected by his optimistic, and they could see how Steve cares about staff's working motivation. Since his employees feel they are respected and recognized in the company, they will contribute their best for the company development. It can lead to healthy competition on work performance in the company. From this story, I learned a lot from the people mentioned in the story, such as the Apple company, and then Wayne Huizenga and Steve Wynn. From Apple, I learned how to be more productive so that later, if I become HR manager, I can maximize employees to achieve goals. Then from Wayne Huizenga, I learned about self-esteem, which is something that seems simple, but actually it is not as simple as that. Not everyone has a good self-esteem, right? But actually, it can lead to many advantages as experienced by Wayne Huizenga. For that, I learned to further improve self-esteem because self-esteem will greatly affect everything we do. Not only me, but also my employees later must also have the same self-esteem in order to achieve common goals. Then from Steve Wynn, I learned a lot about the importance of making employees feel happy so that they are always motivated and productive at work. Employees are not only tools to work, but as a leader, I must be able to make employees feel comfortable and satisfied. So this story really has an impact for me later, for me to be a good person and also a good leader. For this one semester studying about organizational behavior, I didn't only get theoretical knowledge, but also practical knowledge about how to apply organizational behavior materials in our everyday life. I found the lecture of organizational behavior via Zoom meeting was fun and not boring at all because between lecturer and students interacted with each other. So the class every week was full of discussion material. In addition, Sir Adi also sent class recordings every week so that it makes it easier for me and my friends to restudy any material that is missed. And of course, organizational behavior course can contribute to my success in life in the future because through this course, I learned different things and things that I couldn't find from other courses. So the topic that my group and I presented was chapter 15 about foundation of organization structure. This material is new material for me because after studying this material, I just knew that my understanding of organization structure was still very basic. But through this material, I have come to know more about the types of organization structures and how organization structures can differ among organizations. I have also come to understand that the organization structure can also be influenced by the organization strategy because the organization structure will follow the strategy of the organization. In essence, from this material, I learned deeper about the basics of organizational structure and I discovered many new interesting things in this topic. Well, my friends, That's all of my answers for Organizational Behaviour Final Exam. I hope you can understand my answers. Please give comments and subscribe. Thank you and see you in another video. Goodbye everyone!